were it further off, I'll pluck it down.
Act 2 of this production begins in 5 minutes. That's after the news on 2 with Jan Leeming.
Scotland Yard says last Friday's shooting in London was a tragic case of mistaken identity. A police statement 2 days after the shooting expresses deep regret that anyone should have been injured as a result of police activity. The man shot in error, 26-year-old Stephen Waldorf, is still in a critical condition in hospital in London. 3 detective constables have been suspended while an inquiry is carried out, and a preliminary report has already gone to the Home Secretary. Gary Lloyd reporting.
The police have acknowledged that they shot Stephen Waldorf, mistaking him for David Martin, a man on the run. Martin, who's accused of attempting to murder a policeman, had escaped from a courthouse cell. It's now emerged that Stephen wasn't driving the Mini which the police fired on. The driver, Lester Purdy, had jumped out and run for his life. Stephen, sitting beside him, was hit by several bullets which damaged his liver, a lung and an arm. Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Kenneth Newman has dispatched a preliminary report on the shooting to the Home Secretary, who's expected to make a statement in Parliament tomorrow. MPs have already been expressing their outrage. Meanwhile, Stephen Waldorf's family have been keeping an anxious watch at his hospital bedside in the intensive care unit. His father, on the left with his mother, is a television cameraman. Lester Purdy, who escaped the police ambush, has remained with the family. It's clear Stephen is fighting for his life.
He is in a critical condition but remains stable. He is still in the intensive care unit on a ventilator. His relatives are with him. If there is any significant change in his condition, a further statement will be made.
The IRA say they killed a Catholic judge outside a church in Belfast today. Judge William Doyle was shot dead as he got into his car after attending Mass. James Robbins reports.
Judge Doyle was on his way from Mass at St. Brigid's Church when he was ambushed. He was about to drive home in his Mercedes. 2 gunmen ran up, one started firing through the side window. There were at least 4 shots and the judge was hit repeatedly. An elderly neighbour sitting beside him was also hit and she's undergoing surgery. The judge lived for only a few minutes. A priest administered the last rites before he was driven to hospital, while another calmed the congregation, many of whom were distressed after seeing the shooting at close quarters. Judge Doyle had been attending Mass regularly at St. Brigid's each Sunday for many years. The killer's getaway car was quickly abandoned and recovered by police. It had been hijacked in Andersonstown. Members of Northern Ireland's judiciary have been consistent targets for terrorism throughout the Troubles. In recent months, the pace of such attacks has been quickening.
The Prime Minister has again said that she'd prefer not to have an early general election. On the ITV programme Weekend World, Mrs Thatcher said she hadn't begun to think about a date. Her own inclination would be to go the full term, that is, until next spring, but she wasn't closing any of her options. Some of the details are emerging of the Franks report on the events leading up to the Argentine invasion of the Falklands. The Prime Minister is said to be cleared of almost all the blame, but the system for collating intelligence is criticised. The Franks report will be published on Tuesday. Russian translator Vladimir Chernov has flown home to Moscow, still denying he'd been involved in spying in this country. "I'm as clean as a whistle," he told journalists. His wife Valentina said he doesn't even look like a spy. Cricket, and England again lost to Australia today in the World Series Cup. After the match, the captain Bob Willis said his team wasn't playing much better than a county side, and he was alarmed at their indiscriminate batting. This report from David Cass.
Australians relish nothing more than making the Poms look silly. So when Jeff Miller was involved in a bad running mix-up and England collapsed again, they must have been ecstatic. Derek Rendell went some of the way towards redeeming his surrender of yesterday by top scoring, with 57 of England's poor total of 182 all out. After such a batting failure, Ian Botham took 3 Australian wickets, but the home side won comfortably. They had 7 wickets in hand and have already proved themselves far better than England in every department.
And that's all from me for this evening. Good night.
Well, tomorrow, BBC Television will be making news with the start of breakfast television on BBC One. Frank Boff, Selina Scott and Nick Ross will be on hand to help you start the day. Tomorrow's special guests include Michael Foote, Norman St John Stevens, Sir Harry Seacombe and Leo Sayer. You're invited to spend breakfast time with BBC One every weekday between 6:30 and 9, starting tomorrow. Now, this is the weather we can expect for tomorrow. Much of England, Wales, Northern Ireland and South and East Scotland will have another mild, rather cloudy day with the best of the sunshine in more eastern areas.